Many people out there have been speculating on that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually old?
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
What if the biggest royal illusion of the decade didn't come from the palace, but from Meghan Markle herself? Because for years, one woman, Samantha Markle, kept whispering a truth the world refused to hear. English auto-generated Sama, and just like that, the question hangs in the air, heavy and uncomfortable, the kind of question people don't want to ask, because once you do, you can't unhear the answer. For years, the public swallowed a polished fairy tale wrapped in royal ribbons, glossy interviews, and carefully chosen words. But somewhere far from palace gates and Netflix lighting, a sister watched the story being told and kept saying quietly at first, that's not how it happened.
There was something, in my opinion, missing in their eyes. It didn't seem real to me.
No crown, no platform, no PR team, just a woman insisting that the math didn't make sense, that the timeline fell off, that something about Meghan Markle's story didn't sit right in her bones. Meghan's story doesn't add up. While the tabloids painted Meghan as a flawless, self-made Hollywood dream, Samantha says the math behind her so-called official age is about as believable as her fairy tale exit from the royal family. And this wasn't just bitterness, at least not in Samantha's eyes. This was arithmetic. Cold, stubborn numbers that refused to line up no matter how many times the world clapped for Meghan's reinvention. The tabloids sold a narrative so smooth it felt inevitable. The struggling actress, the prince, the modern love story.
There's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
But behind the scenes, Samantha was staring at calendars, birthdays, school years, and thinking, no, this doesn't work. And every time she tried to say it out loud, the noise of Meghan's rising fame drowned her out. Every birthday post, every turning 40 photo shoot, what if the candles were counting down the wrong number all along? This isn't just a family feud, it's a numbers game wrapped in designer coats and palace PR. There's a very big difference. It was deliberate. And here's the twist. When Samantha first spoke up, Meghan's fans called her jealous, bitter, irrelevant. But time has a funny way of flipping the script. Suddenly, old magazines, family photos, and even hospital timelines are proving that Samantha's crazy theory might not be crazy at all. And that's the part that makes people uncomfortable, because jealousy is easy to dismiss. Numbers are not. Years pass, files resurface, and the internet relentless. Obsessive, unforgiving starts pulling threads that were never meant to be tough.
I'll tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the truth.
What once sounded like a bitter sister's rant began to echo with something sharper. Receipts, paper trails, details that don't age well under scrutiny. The whispers grew louder, and suddenly the narrative wasn't so secure anymore. If Meghan really edited her own timeline, if the Duchess of Reinvention actually rewrote her age, then the royal truth isn't a crown, it's a costume. And once you start pulling on that thread, the entire fairy tale starts to unravel. Because behind every perfect Instagram caption, there's always a draft you weren't meant to see. And Meghan's draft, it might just be hiding a completely different birthday. Because reinvention has a cost. At first, it's subtle, shaving off a year here, smoothing an edge there.
Being original here.
I hope you're having the best birthday you've ever had. Thank you for everything.
Which is really such a...
Once you start editing reality, you have to keep editing forever. Every interview, every bio, every milestone has to align with the new version. And if one detail slips, the whole illusion trembles. Samantha knew this. She wasn't watching a fairy tale. She was watching a script being revised in real time, which is really such a fake. Before the world called Meghan Markle a duchess, Samantha Markle called her something else, a mystery wrapped in missing years. Long before Netflix specials and palace statements, Samantha sat quietly with a handful of family memories that refused to match the public timeline. birthdays that shifted, school photos dated wrong, stories that didn't align, and when she asked questions, the world slammed the door in her face. They called her bitter, they called her jealous, but Samantha didn't have envy. She had receipts. Receipts don't shout, they wait. Old photos tucked into drawers, memories that don't fade because they mattered. Samantha remembered years the way families do, not by press releases, but by who was there, how old someone looked, what grade they were in, what year it was when something important happened, and those memories didn't match the glossy version of Meghan that the world was being sold. Childhood moments where Meghan claimed to be 9, but family photos showed a teenager. Milestones that magically moved on paper as if her life had been edited in post-production. Samantha wasn't throwing shade. She was connecting dots the media refused to look at. Every time Meghan's brand got brighter, Samantha's warnings got buried deeper. Yet, she never backed down because in her eyes, this wasn't gossip, it was geometry. The numbers didn't fit, and no amount of royal sparkle could fix the equation. And when Samantha said, "I lost my father," she didn't mean death, she meant erasure. She meant watching a family fracture while the world applauded. To her, this wasn't about headlines, it was about truth. If someone could lie about something as basic as age, she wondered what else was being carefully adjusted. That single question cracked the surface of Meghan's image, quietly, slowly, like a fault line spreading beneath polished marble. Thomas Markle, their father, heard it too. He wasn't chasing fame. He wasn't looking for revenge. He was a dad who remembered driving his daughter places, filming her milestones, watching her grow. And when he saw the official biography, something in his gut twisted. Her childhood was with me. He remembered years, not vibes. Ages, not aesthetics. A teenager going to auditions when she was supposedly too young. Moments that didn't match the official script. At first, he questioned himself. Time blurs memories, doesn't it? But then he looked at photos, certificates, letters. The past stared back, unedited. There's nothing original here. If Meghan was born in 1981, why did so many documented moments place her older? This wasn't palace intrigue to Thomas. It was simple math. A father knows how old his child is when she gets her first car, her first job, her first heartbreak. I got it through high school. I got it through college. The media called him confused, but he wasn't. He remembered the dress, the dinner, the year stamped on a Christmas card. And that's when it hit him. The woman described in palace releases didn't fully match the daughter he raised. She delivered it like an actress delivered it. And then came the magazine. One forgotten page that changed everything. A March 1997 issue of 17 magazine listing Meghan Markle as 21 years old. Printed, archived, unarguable. In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad. If Meghan were born in 1981, she'd have been in high school then, not 21, not featured as an adult. People tried to dismiss it, a typo, another Meghan, but the details lined up too well. And print doesn't lie the way digital stories can disappear. How can you get your age so wrong? Suddenly, Samantha didn't look jealous. She looked ahead of her time. That magazine wasn't gossip, it was documentation. Two timelines collided, and only one could survive. This is a copy of 17 magazine, and it was published in March of 1997. In it, it mentions our magazine is from Los Angeles and that she was 21 years old at the time of publication. That would make her birth year at around 1976. Two Meghans stared back at the public. One, polished and palace approved. The other, sketched in family albums and old ink. The difference wasn't cosmetic, it was years. And years matter. So there is something that is not connecting, there is something that is not right, and then came the pregnancies. If the age math shifted, everything else shifted with it. A miracle pregnancy at 37 is one story. A pregnancy in the early 42nds is another entirely. But if you look at this, Meghan Markle has been incredibly quiet about the birth, but mostly the pregnancy of these children. High-risk pregnancies come with protocols, monitoring, hospital stays, But Meghan's story played out like a lifestyle spread, perfect lighting, flawless recovery, and when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checker dress. That's when age stopped being vanity and started being critical. Because risk, recovery, and reality don't bend for PR. Harry's memoir was meant to soften their image. Instead, it raised eyebrows, 2 epidurals, candles, walking out hours later. Medical professionals weren't swooning, they were confused. Because that's not how bodies work. Here, the doctor talks about both the children, and listen to what she says. So, you tell me to tell you something that maybe a dozen people actually know that's going to come out very soon, okay? Meghan Markle. The reason why you watch her interviews and she just seems off. She's owned by a pharmaceutical company. The 2 children that she had, they're not hers. She didn't have them with Harry. And how her and Harry met is that she's a prostitute. The drive from hospital to Frogmore alone shattered the timeline. Add security, checks, paperwork, and the math collapses. Either the story was edited or reality was. Every reinvention requires control. Meghan didn't just rebrand, she rebuilt. Age adjusted, narrative streamlined, edges softened. And that's why age matters. Because once you start editing truth, everything becomes performance. When you line it all up, Samantha's memories, Thomas's timelines, the magazine proof, the hospital story, one thing becomes clear. This wasn't evolution. It was engineering. This isn't about envy or gossip. It's about how easily truth gets lost when the cameras never stop rolling. And once the edit sticks, the world forgets there was ever a first draft. And that's the part that lingers long after the screen fades to black. Because when a story has been told the same way for years, repetition turns it into fact. People stop questioning it. They defend it like it's personal truth. Meghan's image became so familiar, so rehearsed, that challenging even one detail felt almost offensive to her supporters. But truth doesn't care how beloved a narrative is. It doesn't bend because a fairy tale went viral. What makes this unsettling isn't just the age question. It's the pattern, the silence, the way uncomfortable details are brushed aside while critics are labeled cruel, unstable, or obsessed. Samantha and Thomas weren't polished messengers. They were messy, emotional, imperfect, and that made them easy to dismiss. But imperfection doesn't automatically mean false. Sometimes it means unfiltered. Sometimes it means real. And once doubt enters the room, it doesn't leave quietly. It starts asking more questions. If the age was adjusted, why? If timelines were smoothed over, what else needed smoothing? If a pregnancy story felt choreographed, what was the purpose of the choreography? Control, privacy, image, or fear of what the unedited version might reveal? That's why this conversation refuses to die. Not because people love tearing down public figures, but because humans are wired to sniff out inconsistencies. We know when something feels too clean, too perfect, too staged. Life doesn't move in straight lines. It stumbles. It leaves wrinkles, pauses, and contradictions behind. Meghan's public story doesn't stumble, it glides, and that, for many, is the loudest red flag of all. In the end, maybe no single document will ever silence the debate completely. Maybe there will never be a moment where everyone agrees, but the illusion is cracked, and once you see the crack, you can't unsee it. The question isn't whether Meghan reinvented herself. Hollywood rewards that. The question is how far the reinvention went, and what truths were quietly left on the cutting room floor while the world applauded the final edit.